Hello, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our final parallel lunch and learn of 2024. So hopefully you're winding down for Christmas, as we are at Parallel Training as well. So we thought that we would have a fun but serious look at Santa Claus's skills as a project manager today. My name is Ruth Phillips. I'm the head of training delivery at Parallel, and I am joined with two of my companion elves here, Carmen and Lisa, who are senior training consultants at Parallel. I'd like to welcome everybody that is watching us live today, but also anybody that is watching this after the session. Very happy to have you join us. So what are we going to be discussing today? Well, we've got a lot of secrets to share with you. First of all, Lisa's going to take us through the numbers around Santa's project, and there are quite serious zeros on the end of this. It's quite some undertaking that Santa goes through. Carmen is going to then have a look at project governance and stakeholders. Lisa's going to look at how Santa actually does all of his planning, getting ready for the big night, and very, very importantly, all important risk management. I'm going to give you a little bit of information about how we all actually can track Santa's progress, and how the elves, keep up to date with that and report that back to the Santa's grotto in the North Pole. And then we're finishing off by what happens on Christmas Day at the end of the project. Now, you might be wondering, how do we know all of this information? Well, we are exceptionally privileged to have Santa Claus as our source for this. One of the very few connections that Santa has on LinkedIn, he's chosen to connect with Parallel so that he can share his secrets with us today. Right, okay, so let's move on then. So Lisa, tell us about Santa's project in numbers. Kind of, what are some of the parameters that he's trying to hit on his project? Should we have a look at his success criteria first of all?
Okay, thanks for that, Ruth, and happy Christmas to everybody listening or watching later. So, to kick us off, the project success criteria. Number one, to bring joy and happiness to children around the world. And we've got a rider to that one. It's only those that are on the nice list, of course. I'll talk to you when I talk to a bit more about the figures about nice list versus naughty list. So yes, delivering joy and happiness to children around the world by delivering their wished for presents, and we'll talk about that in a short time, ready for them to unwrap at the customary time. Now, it's not just Christmas Day, the customary time. Around the world, presents are opened, as we can see on the slide here, December the 5th. There's a kind of preliminary prototype in project management terms practice session on the 5th, the main event on the 25th, and then around the world, people might be also opening presents on January the 6th. So we're giving those riders naughty list or nice list, not just restricted to the 25th of December. Thanks, Ruth. So the data, here we go. Don't we love, as project managers, don't we love some data? So we've got on the screen here the usual, the time, cost, and quality. So I'll talk through that first and then dive into the detail. Starting with time, of course, the project's got a 1 year cycle, hasn't it? 1 year cycle, 25th to 25th. But the actual delivery, so the time box, if we're going to talk about it in project management terms, the time box is probably 24 hours. So every year, that 24 hours is the key period of time, isn't it? So time is up there at the top. If we go down, what should we talk about? Quality on the right hand side. So all the presents that are delivered have got to meet whatever ISO quality standard is relevant. They've got to be wished for, so they've got to have been on someone's wish list. And fundamentally, we don't want to be making toys that are going into the scrap heap, do we? They've got to meet sustainability targets. And bottom left hand side of the slide, that absolutely huge figure there. I'm going to break it down in a short time, but it's, let me get it right, it's 27,864,680,668 and 4 pence. Amazing. Amazing that is probably the biggest project I've ever worked on, for sure, I would say, by a long stretch. But breaking that down, as you can see on the slide on the left hand side, and the figures, we didn't just come up with them, off the top of our heads. They were properly and sincerely and what's the word I'm trying to think of? Robustly researched. That's the word I was thinking of. So starting from the top of the data we've got, the number of children in the world less than 18 years old, 2 billion. Yeah, 2 billion plus there. But we've made it a bit more realistic. We've said the total number of under 10s, which we thought was a reasonable age to still probably be believing in Father Christmas. So the total number of under 10s are still, it's still an amazing amount, isn't it? It's 1,341,844,254. We've then reduced that a little bit further to say those that are on the nice list. And the nice list actually comes from the North Pole Department of Christmas Affairs. It's probably about 15% naughty, 85% nice. I don't know what we think, people listening to the call, whether that's a reasonable assumption, but that's where we've gone. Yeah, 15% nice, 85% naughty. And the present budget per child, again, was a researched by this guy called Michael Tedasco. He's looked at worldwide. So it's not just, it's all kinds of countries, not just Western, Eastern, the whole planet. The total present budget, average present budget per child was calculated at £25.96. So believe it or not, stacking that up, that's where the budget comes from. Yeah. So present budget per child multiplied by the total nice list gives us a total budget, that 27 billion budget across 1 billion presents to be delivered. Yeah, if that makes sense. Whew, we've got the detail nailed down. Thanks, Ruth. Moving on through. As good project managers, we need to know in our business case, don't we? What's the source of funding? Where's that 27 billion 864,680,688 pounds and 4 pence coming from? Three sources we've identified. I think I'll go for, I'll leave the best till last. So Claus Family Trust in the middle. We'll start with this one. Father Christmas, or St. Nicholas, as the slide says, was born into a wealthy family. And over the past 1700 years, we're very well advised that he's invested that money wisely. Yeah, so a proportion of it, I'm not saying what proportion, will come from the Claus Family Trust. Magic, I like that over on the right hand side. There's a little bit of sprinkling of Christmas special going on there. The left hand side is the one I think most of us can relate to, the parental levy. So the amount of contribution has to come from that. I'm not going to get into specific details today, but we're all feeling the hit at this time of year of the parental levy. I think that's it for sources of funding. I think. Thanks, Ruth. Thank you.
Okay, so Carmen, tell us about how Santa Claus governs his project and works with his stakeholders.
Yes, certainly. So the first thing we need to discuss is what's the best choice of life cycle. So to govern the project, we need to identify the key phases that we will have to follow. And Lisa took us through the tight timescales and the budget. So Santa understands that it's very important to have maximum governance. But at the same time, during the planning, there is going to be a lot of evolving requirements from some of these users, especially the children. So they may really take a little while to redefine what we need to deliver. Therefore, Santa will have to follow all this hybrid life cycle to incorporate that flexibility during the planning. So we need to ensure as well that once we have fully defined the project, we continue with the structure and the governance so we can meet the targets and the deadlines. And of course, one of the key challenges that Santa will have to manage is dealing with a lot of stakeholders. So we have the children, we have the parents. So we need to ensure that their needs are satisfied because ultimately, successful project will really rely on stakeholder satisfaction. Now we need to think about internal stakeholders as well, because engaging and communicating with team members such as Mrs. Claus, the elves, the reindeers are going to play a key role for the success of the project. And we also need to think about other regulatory requirements, and we're going to have to make sure we engage with global governments, because as Santa travels around the world, there may be some travel restrictions. So we need to understand and fully communicate with the governments as well. The elves will work really hard to manufacture some of the toys, but some of the toys may need to be outsourced to meet the deadline. So we are going to be working with different suppliers, and some of them will be online suppliers. So Santa really need to get up to speed with technology, different ways to work with online suppliers in order to achieve all the resources and materials to deliver the presence around the world. And the team needs to be communicated and also engaged. So when it comes to leading a team, Santa's advice is to form a diverse team, diversity of thought, diversity of skills. And you can see on the slides on the left-hand side, Rudolph with this remarkable glowing nose. So there's a lot of theories as to where the glowing nose comes from. And recently, about 7 years ago, there is and by the way, this is a real study by Brighton University, confirmed that despite of some of the rumors that the glowing nose was because of Rudolph being really exploited and stressed out, his glowing nose was actually a strength which makes Santa to specifically pick reindeer Rudolph as the leading team. So this glowing nose will give exceptional visibility under foggy condition. And when Santa developed this diverse team, he fully understands trends, weaknesses, different interests and lifestyles as well, to make sure he gets the best out of everybody. And because of that, the team has a very collaboratively and really good team working atmosphere that really makes sure that they continue with very high spirits despite any other adversities. Right, so that takes us very close to the big night. So I'll hand that over now.
Okay, fantastic. So thank you, Carmen. Yeah, and I think actually, Lisa, you're going to talk us a little bit more through the numbers required in terms of resources. But I think that Santa's got such a huge team. That team management and motivation is absolutely crucial to the success of this project. So, Lisa. Santa's got to get ready for the big night. A lot of planning to do. So tell us all about that.
Oh, thanks, Ruth. Fantastic work breakdown structure here. And again, as project managers, we love a work breakdown structure. It's the absolute fundamental start for our planning process, isn't it? For sure. You can't make a Gantt chart without a work breakdown structure. So we've got the work breakdown structure on the screen, and it covers all the detailed plans and tasks that we need to put together. So the planning side starts down the left-hand side there. We've got the health and safety plan in there for sure, the risk management strategy, which we'll talk about in a short time. We've got to think about requirements gathering. So I talked earlier, didn't I, about who's on the nice list. You've got to confirm whether you're on the nice or whether you're on the naughty list. Confirming at the end of the day, this is what the gift list is, to take that forward. We've got a whole section of the work breakdown structure about producing those toys. Ruth mentioned earlier that the elves will be working. Sorry, apologies. Carmen mentioned earlier that the elves will be working, but there'll also be some maybe some external sourcing going on at the same time. So wrapping up the gifts, that's a job in itself, isn't it? That all those 1 billion over on the right hand side there, 1 billion gifts that are going on. Planning the flight route. It's not only about having the presents, but it's getting them out to the places that they need to get to. And I think Ruth's going to mention later about tracking with NORAD. I've done that with my children many, many times in the past. They absolutely love it, seeing Santa go over the countries and seeing him get closer and closer. We've got some practical logistics problems going on there in terms of what is the sequence of the materials and the presents going on to the sleighs, for example. And I like that one at the end there, chimney navigation. It's not only getting there, it's, is Santa going to be able to squeeze into the chimneys? You know, is it going to be just a quick drop and go, or is he going to have to literally navigate through? So we've got some data. Like we said on the right hand side there, those 1,073,000,000. I'm enjoying my figures this afternoon. 475,404 presents. We've made the assumption that it's probably going to take them, give them a month or so off after Christmas. These elves, we're being kind to them, we're not overstressing them. We've said they're probably going to be working from about February till beginning of December, so 9 months of toy production, with an assumption of about 100 working days. 10 million 10 million toys per day. That's what it is. Apologies. 10 million toys per day they've got to produce. Personally, 100 toys per day, which means that we need 107,000 elves to fulfill this plan. Oh my goodness me, the coordination that's going to be needed. So 107,000 elves making 100 toys a day will complete over the 9 months that total 1 billion, 1.073 billion presents on the day. Amazing. Just absolutely mind blowing. The amount of detail that needs to go into it. I think that's. Oh yeah, sorry. I'm talking about risk as well, aren't I? So we've got the work plan in place. We've got the work breakdown structure. We know what needs doing. The key things that we need to, and that Santa will need to think about. Number one, it's the weather, isn't it? I don't know about you. I've already been checking what the weather's going to be like on Christmas Day. Is it going to be snowing next week? And how everybody moves around a lot over Christmas, don't they? So Santa needs to check out what the weather's going to be like and make sure that he can make all the deliveries in time. Any reindeer mishaps, that could be a key risk, couldn't it? That those reindeer, they've got a mind of their own. So possibilities that they're not doing exactly as they're told and Rudolph's not keeping them in line like they should be doing. Technology, I'm guessing these days that Santa has Google Maps on his mobile phone. The fact that he has to rely on a good signal across the world to guide his way. Supply chain disruptions again. We mentioned earlier, didn't we, that the elves will be doing their thing through the year, but what if one of those key suppliers that Santa is relying on, something happens and they, for some reason they go out of business? He's got to squeeze those elves a little bit tighter, hasn't he, to get a bit more out of them. Oh, naughty children is on the risk list. We don't like to think of that, do we? But that 15%, it might tip over. It might tip over into the 20%, and then we don't have quite as much to do. Health and safety concerns are definitely on there for risk management. I mean, dropping a present off the sleigh and hitting someone in the street, for example, it's got to be up there. And oh yeah, we kind of mentioned it, didn't we? The different types of chimneys might be a problem for Santa. He's put some weight year after year. Maybe he won't be able to squeeze through the ones that he did last year. So looking at the configurations and making sure that you've got a risk plan in place for each one of these. I think
Fantastic. A lot of risk
yes.
there, isn't there,
Yeah.
involved in this. That's almost a whole project in itself.
Thank you.
Right. Okay. So what happens then when we come up? Not long to go now. I hope you're all getting excited. What happens when we come up to Christmas Eve? Well, this is as Lisa said. Santa does have a dry run. Earlier in the month, a sort of a smaller scale version of the drop off. So hopefully, any creases in the plan can be ironed out by Christmas Eve. When he starts in the international dateline, he starts his present delivery journey across the world. So, on one of the previous lunch and learns that Paul and I did, we were talking about agile methods for tracking progress and communication, and how the importance of rich communication is. And somebody mentioned that Santa might actually have a Kanban board, and I'm delighted to show you that I actually asked Santa himself whether or not this is how they track the progress, and he sent me a screenshot of what his Kanban board is actually looking at. So you can see there's a couple of elves there that are completely dedicated to updating progress there, as we know that presents have been delivered, etc., dropped down the chimneys, etc. They're moved across that Kanban board. Santa also enlists the assistance of NORAD, which is the North American Aerospace Defense Command, and this is an organisation between the US and Canada, has got a whole series of global radars and satellites, and over the evening, sort of 24th to 25th December, dedicates its services, mans its satellites and its radar. And you can see there also where, you know, any fighter jets that happen to be in the air at that point in time, they're all there supporting and tracking Santa's progress as he moves across the the earth. And as Lisa said, actually, parents, children, you can go to noradsanta.org, and you can actually follow Santa's progress, watch where he is getting closer. You can put in your location, and it tells you how long it is until Santa's going to reach you. So make sure that all of those nice children are in bed well before that point in time. So there's very, very sophisticated systems at play here. That track Santa's progress across the earth. And if you haven't already had a look at NORAD, it's absolutely super fun. So I really would recommend that. Now, one thing I forgot to say in the introduction is that we've got a little bit of a Christmas gift for one lucky person as part and parcel of this Lunch and Learn session. So I've got a question that I'm going to ask you, and the person that gives us a correct answer to this question, if you pop it into the comments in LinkedIn, will receive either a free parallel distance learning PFQ or a free distance learning PMQ package. So this is the question. So according to NORAD, what is the top speed of Santa's sleigh when it's in flight? Okay, so we're going to leave the comments open so that if anybody is watching this later, you're not going to be disadvantaged by this, but please do pop your answer in the comments at any point in time, and then we will have a look at those answers and we will notify the winner of the competition on the 6th of January. So what do you think the top speed of Santa's sleigh is when in flight? And as I said, NORAD have done a lot of data and specifications on the sleigh, and you can find that information from them. Right, okay, so Lisa talked to us about risk management, but there are also sometimes some issues. Now, actually, this is an issue that cropped up a couple of times on Santa's Christmas Eve delivery run, that actually it's now gone into risk management so that we can try to maybe mitigate it in advance. But some of the issues that Santa has previously experienced in the past has been maybe eating a few too many mince pies, so that those later chimneys become a little bit more difficult for him to squeeze down. So I'm told that Mrs. Claus has got him on a very strict diet and exercise regime as a preventative action. But I'm sure that lots of us will be leaving out all sorts of goodies. And so that still may become an issue when he comes to your chimney. So the elves and Santa follow best practice, the APM's issue management process. There's a team of elves that are there, because obviously all of these issues need to be dealt with very, very quickly and urgently, because otherwise, Santa will start getting a little bit delayed. So the issue is logged and analysed, escalated very quickly to Mrs. Claus, that's impacting on tolerance, and then they assign the necessary actions. Perhaps enact change control if we have to maybe change the route, or maybe go into the house through a different entrance, and then make sure that all of that action has been done. Santa's back on track, and we can get that issue closed. So just want to reassure all the children out there that there's a crack team of elms that are there to help us with dealing with the issues. Right, okay, so the deliveries are done. The children are opening up their presents, and hopefully delighted with what they've received. Lisa, tell us what Santa and his team do now on Christmas Day.
I would say put their feet up for starters. Yeah. So it's all about celebrating success, as the slide says, isn't it? So for starters, a few carrots to be handed round for Rudolph and the reindeers. They like a few carrots, don't they? Father Christmas, I think, on the slide has got his feet up there. So he deserves it, I think, after that one night of absolute, full on. He deserves to put his feet up. But just, I think, and I always say this, in the UK, we're not very good at celebrating success, are we? We're not very good at saying that was a job really well done. So take time to reflect, really, yeah, to sit back and say, I think we're gonna move on, aren't we, to talk about lessons learned. But that's like that part of celebrating success, isn't it? To say what went well and what didn't go so well. But absolutely, put your feet up, relax, but pat on the back. Sorry, I forgot the elves, didn't I? I've talked about Rudolph and the reindeers. Absolutely, some kind of bumper bonus going on for those elves as well. Maybe, I don't know what would make an elf stay. I'm just trying to think. I don't know. A new outfit. I don't know. Something
Eggnog,
like
a
that.
new outfit, yes,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah. Another bell for the hat. Something like that. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Okay, so Lisa, you mentioned lessons learnt then, so I'm delighted to give you some inside information here. So again, Santa passed to us a photo from the lessons learnt workshop that was run after Christmas 2023, and we've identified some of the lessons that they learnt from that present delivery, and also some aspects of continuous improvement that Santa is is always thinking about. So it's not been many years now since Santa moved from physical flight maps and kind of quite rudimentary radar controls used by NORAD into full GPS sleigh route planning and navigation systems. So this actually, we talked about sustainability targets a little bit earlier. This is really contributing to Santa achieving some of those sustainability targets, because he's now got much more efficient route planning. It saves a lot of the magic fuel that his sleigh uses, and also makes sure that he gets around all of those children quicker, so that everybody gets their presents on time. Carmen talked to us about the fact that there's quite a sophisticated political engagement exercise that needs to go on, and following. Actually, it came out of some of the COVID restrictions. After the Christmas 2023 delivery, Santa's managed to finalise a global skies agreement for sleigh traffic control. So that's in place now, which again assists him on his way. One of the major risks is around the supply chain resilience. So the elves have been working really hard on making sure they've got good parallel contracts in place to help with the supply chain resilience. And Lisa mentioned, and I'm sure many of you are sympathising with the elves at this time of year, that wrapping presents is a project in itself. And so Santa has been investing in and testing out automated present wrapping machines, and they're doing a pretty decent job. Some of the things that didn't go quite so well, probably many of your households have got a scout elf within them from the beginning of December. They go out into houses. They bring back a lot of data for Santa about chimney configurations and things like that. Make sure that the children on the nice list should be on the nice list, etc. But they've got a dreadful tendency to be naughty. All sorts of things, making snow angels with flour on the floor, sort of streamers on the cooker, all sorts of things like that. And this really leads to reputational damage for Santa Claus. So that's one of the things that we're looking to improve, to try to improve the behaviours of the Scout elves. And another thing that also sort of contributes to sustainability targets is that some children report that actually playing with the box is often more fun than playing with the present itself. And so again, sort of making sure that we've got presents that align with requirements, and that packaging is cut down to the bare minimum, and really the focus needs to be on the present rather than the packaging. So a little bit of an insight into that lessons learnt workshop that the elves did at the end of the 2023 season. Okay, so we've had a good look at what Santa does in terms of a project, his annual project. Carmen, what can we learn as project managers from Santa?
Good. So I think, as a bit of a sum up of everything that we've learned from Santa today, The first thing is to set clear goals and plan ahead. So Santa knows very well that failing to plan is planning to fail. And he plans very, very carefully all the steps, all the way up until the delivery day. The second lesson was to build a diverse team and keep motivating. Santa knows that people gets motivated by different things and adjusts strategies. They also know that it's important to empower them and give them breathing space. So Santa delegates very efficiently and makes sure that he doesn't micromanage the team, the elves, the reindeers. Number four, for me, is very key. Not what your customer wants, not what the children want, not what the parents also want, because you may work really, really hard all the way, all the run up to Christmas, and still not achieve the benefits if you don't deliver what the children really wanted. So you need to achieve that joy and happiness. It's really, really important to listen to your customer. And finally, things may go wrong, lots of things will not go to plan. Santa stays calm under pressure and always spreads joy and the happiness of the season. So, if you were inspired by Santa's story and you want to know more about all these key core project management skills, you could scan the QR code that you see on the screen for more information, and also get in touch with us as well if you want to discuss a little bit more project management information, training, and even just if it's to give us your feedback about this session and the future ones. So you could see now the telephone number and the email address is just pop up on the banner. On that
Fantastic.
note, I think it's a good time now to pass it to you, Ruth, for any questions
Yeah.
that we may have.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've already had a couple of entries into the competition, so if you
Oh,
would like to enter, please pop your suggestions for what the answer is into the chat on LinkedIn. So just to remind you of the question, according to NORAD, what is Santa's sleigh's top speed when it's in flight? So do let us know if you want to enter that, and we'll let you know in January. Um, yeah, what I'd like to do now is really open up the floor to any questions that anybody might have about Santa, how he manages projects, anything that we haven't covered. Maybe there's a few more secrets that we can share with you. We've got quite a few comments already. Matt said that 27 billion would buy some nice Christmas presents. Yeah, it absolutely wouldn't it? Certainly would like to have that as my present budget. I don't think that's going to happen in a hurry, though, is it? So I've got one question for either Lisa or Carmen. As professional project managers yourself, is there anything that you think Santa can improve on as a project manager?
oh, goodness me.
Have you got any thoughts, Lisa? What do you think he could do
Mm.
better?
I got one.
Okay.
There was a lot of things. It's a really tough question. But we talk about a lot of things. I think Santa, as the world is evolving quite rapidly, it's quite important that also Santa keeps up to date. So it's really
Mm.
important project managers just keep on learning and spend the time when it's quiet, maybe January, February, to do some reflection and see as an individual, what do I need to develop myself, and what can I do better, because in project management, trends, techniques, skills vary. So maybe that's something that Santa could work a bit more on.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I think that's really nice, and I think particularly
CPD log
um,
for Santa, Santa CPD
that's it.
log.
CPD log, absolutely, absolutely. And I think, as you spotted that time now, January, that's a great
Mm.
point in time, isn't it, for him to think, reflect on, what his current competencies are and how he might improve that, and what goals he might have for his personal development for the year, and absolutely get that CPD log out. Lisa, have you got any tips for?
The only thing I was going to think of was he should use better technology better. I mean, you said, Ruth, about him, about Santa using the GPS tracking and that kind of thing. That's good. you know what I'm going to say, that AI, how is Santa using AI? How could he use AI? You know,
That's a
that's the
great
kind of
question.
debate I guess we've got to keep him up to date, haven't we? It's the
Yeah,
way that things are going forward.
yeah, definitely. And I think that he probably could use AI quite a lot. You know that there's often the most popular toy lists that
Hmm.
come out. Maybe he could
Yeah.
use AI to do some kind of forecasting so that he gets that
Prediction. Yeah.
information sooner
Yeah.
rather than later, because obviously, you know, we don't want to be waiting until kind of October, November, do we, to get the elves
Hmm.
started on all of this present production.
Yeah. What are the latest trends, for example? What are the,
Yeah.
what's the next biggest thing going to be? He needs to be in front rather than a leader, rather than a follower in that way. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So Paul's put something in the chat. He said, you know, if you're using an agile approach, would you get your presence in parts? Which I think it's quite a funny way to look at things. Do you think Santa could be more agile? We talked about why he chooses the hybrid life cycle, because he needs that governance and structure. But do you think he could be more agile in any way?
Hmm.
It's a tricky one, isn't it?
I mean, you could get your present in parts if it was a Lego set, couldn't you? You could get one part of this and one part of the next part,
Yes.
as long as it built up to something.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure just getting a doll's head and then an arm
Yeah.
and a leg, that probably probably wouldn't work quite so much, would it?
I don't know
I
how it could be.
suppose, yeah, we got 3 sprints, the 5th of December, the
Mm,
25th of December, and the 6th
Yeah,
of January. So
yeah,
we could maybe see how that will benefit Santa to be more agile in the delivery.
yeah, absolutely. And I always wonder. Now, this is one thing that I didn't find out from Santa. He did keep this a little bit close to his chest. I wondered whether it's the children's requirements that come first, or whether the toy production comes first, and then we match them to the children's
mm,
requirements as those wish lists come
mm,
in. And you know, I'm thinking whether he could start potentially using AI to get some of those requirements earlier in the year, so the kind of
mm,
the present making, wrapping, and loading could be going on right the way throughout the year, rather
mm.
than in a more sequential linear fashion. But
And
we will
maybe I've
never
just thought
know.
of a good one as well. Maybe
Oh, okay.
Santa should be having some adverts midway through the year to drive the demand for those presents that he can
Oh, yes.
deliver. That's the agile way, isn't
That's
it? To
it.
say
Absolutely.
this, not what do
Absolutely.
you want? This is what we can do.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea. Fantastic. Right. Okay. Well, unless anybody's got any additional questions, I think we'll finish there for the day. As I said, if any more people watching on catch up, or if you just want to go away and do a little bit of research before you put your answer in the chat, don't forget to enter the competition to get either a free PFQ or PMQ distance learning package from Parallel. Just looking ahead for next year. So, as Carmen mentioned, not just for Santa, but for all of us, actually, coming back to work, starting the new year in January is a great way to kind of think about what goals you might have for the year that's coming up. So, we're doing 2 lunch and learn sessions. The first one on the 10th of January is going to be top tips for new project managers. So, if you're just starting out in your career, what tips have our experienced team got for you? And then on the 16th of January, I'm going to be talking about how you can become a chartered project professional. So this is probably those of you that are a little bit further along in your career, looking at the 4 different pathways that exist to help you gain your chartered status. So that's on the 16th of January. So make sure you are actually following Parallel on LinkedIn, and then you'll get notifications about those sessions in due course. Okay, so the only thing left for me to do now is to thank everybody for attending, and I'd like to wish you a really fantastic Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And Lisa and Carmen, I'm sure you'd join me in that as well.
Yep. Merry
Absolutely.
Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy season, everybody.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much, Lisa and Carmen. Merry Christmas to everyone, and we will see you in the new year.